Hey everyone, another episode of Panda's Odyssey. Today I'm with a good friend of mine. A man has quite a few titles on him and an accomplished grappler, Matt Kaiser. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me, brother. We appreciate it.
So before we go on about your titles and where we are, let's start with a bit of a history on how you got into martial arts and your journey to where you are now.
Sure. So when I started doing martial arts, when I was in about grade 9, I was introduced into wrestling. I wrestled at Brock University. I wrestled with future Olympian Tanya Verbeek, and we had great coaches there. Marty Calder was the head coach at the time. So I got a really good feel for wrestling at that time. I wrestled for maybe 5 or 6 months, and then I got in a really bad car accident. And then I never really kind of got back into it until I was at a party one time, and a friend of mine and we had a few too many drinks, and he came at me and attacked me. And I remember he put me in a headlock. And he put me in a headlock for what must have been, because it was one of those fights that started playful and then ended a little serious. Yeah. But he put me in the headlock for what had to have been at least 10 minutes straight. And I couldn't get out of it, but I was too stubborn to tap, and I felt like my cranium was going to touch. He was a big guy. And then I remember thinking, like, I never want to feel that way again, where I'm just helpless in the situation. So, funny enough, him and I both sought out martial arts, and we both said, well, you know, like, it'd be fun if we knew what we were doing. So we went to a bunch of different places, a lot of striking styles, because at that point I hadn't really, you know, I watched UFC, but I didn't understand the difference between jiu-jitsu, between judo, between taekwondo or anything like that. So we tried all these taekwondo, kung fu, and everything. We were just trying to see what's the one that works. And I remember the first place that ever showed me how to get out of a headlock was Japanese jiu-jitsu. Yeah. So once I learned how to get out of a headlock, it was like, okay, this is where I'm staying, Japanese jiu-jitsu. And I was in Ontario. I studied Japanese jiu-jitsu for maybe 2.5, 3 years. And then I moved out to Victoria, and I've been practicing Brazilian jiu-jitsu ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
This kind of made the leap?
Well, the one big thing that attracted me to Japanese jiu-jitsu was the grappling. So in Japanese jiu-jitsu, you obviously have a lot of self-defense base, which is fantastic. But what I really enjoyed was the rolling around, was the grappling portion of it, right? Yeah. And it's funny because the more I train now, I'm kind of going back to that, you know, keep it rooted in self-defense and striking, and it's just kind of come full circle again, right? Yeah. But yeah. I was really excited to try Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I didn't want to leave my club. But once I left my town, it was the first thing I gravitated towards.
Yeah, it's funny because that's actually how I started too, was Japanese first, and I actually hated the groundwork because it was all big army guys. Right. So when I moved off to the city though, and you know, I found other places that were more flow, or, you know, more, I guess, like there's common experience or skill was a bit higher than just the meathead coming in all the time. Right. Because maybe it was early, so there wasn't a lot of experienced people there, right? Right. Yeah, and it's kind of, we have these, like, I had a car accident as well, and I kind of had to stop. I was doing boxing, and then found jiu-jitsu. So it's kind of cool, the similarities. For sure, for sure. So here we are, and we're at Forge Gym? We're at Forge the Gym, yeah. We're inside Forge Training Center. And now you run your own place. Before you ran your own place, so you had a few titles, a few competitions you were in. Yeah. So let's see, EBI. Yeah. You were in the first 2 EBIs, Eddie Bravo Invitationals. That's right. Yeah. So how was that? It was terrifying, buddy. It was terrifying.
Yeah, no, I had a great opportunity to compete in the first 2 EBIs. And it was really tough. Like I hadn't done a lot of trips to LA at that point. So when you're sitting in a room and you're about to compete and you see Eric Paulson sitting there, you see, all these guys, I remember Jean-Jacques, Kenny Florian.
Oh, yeah.
Like everybody was there. Drysdale, I believe. It's one of those, I can't even remember who wasn't there. But it was just such a cool experience seeing all those people, and it really made it super intense. And I remember I was standing, like, I don't know if you've seen the first EBI, but like people stand on these columns, right? And they still kind of do it. There's these raised platforms. Yeah. And I remember just standing there like, what the hell is going on right now? Like you're looking around the room and seeing like your heroes and you're standing across from this other guy, and then I remember there's a guy, Casey Halstead, who now runs 10th Planet Las Vegas, and he was kind of one of the promoters. And I think he saw like I was a little deer in the headlights, and he said, Matt, he goes, take this moment in. He's like, listen to the sounds, take in the sights, smell the air, like this is your moment, like embrace it, enjoy it, it's going to be gone soon. And then I remember the second he ended that, it was walk down to the mat, and it was a very, like, it wasn't like they didn't do introducing this guy and introducing that guy. It was literally we walked on the mat and he said, ready, go.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
It was just like, holy moly. And yeah, I fought a really tough guy, Alberto Serrano, multiple national champion in Mexico. He won the North American 5 grappling tournament, really tough opponent. And I only got the brackets 2-3 days beforehand, I think. It wasn't long. It wasn't more than a week for sure. So, I didn't have a lot of time to study him, but I felt good about the game plan, and the first fight went really well for me.
I remember actually seeing the fight previous to yours. Mm-hmm. And you could see you in the background on that platform too. Mm-hmm. And you were pretty tense. And it's funny because, you're on the same competition where you have a Glover who I think when he was there, he wore the 1990s Wolverine outfit, and he was swimming on the stage. Yeah, so just, like totally relaxed.
One of the biggest things I did for my jiu-jitsu was coming in on the weekends, opening up the gym, and just sitting down watching a technique video and learning from it. And one of the first ones I did that was Jeff Glover's Deep Half DVD. Mm-hmm. So when I met Jeff, I was like a giant fan. Like he's one of my first heroes in jiu-jitsu, and here I am at a tournament where he's competing in, right? So it was like, oh my God. So then I remember he came in late, and I'm pretty sure he was baked too. And so anyway, he weighed in, and it was like, everybody's a little edgy, but everybody's weighing in. So I was like, you give everybody a few moments to weigh in, drink up, whatever. But as soon as I could, I ran over to Jeff Glover and I said, hey Jeff, I'm a big fan. He goes, who? And I said, Jeff, I'm a big fan. He goes, oh, you're a fan of Logan.
Oh yeah, he had the full, he had the chops.
Oh yeah,
and everything. That's
he
right.
was not breaking character. So I went, can I get a picture with you, Jeff? He's like, Logan and you can take a picture, sure. So he's a character, but like that guy, I don't know. He makes jiu-jitsu so entertaining and fun to watch. It's been really cool to watch him compete.
Yeah. That's that's really cool though, looking back, especially now because EBI is only getting bigger with each one. Sure. And it's fun when I'm talking to people. I'm like, I know one of the guys is on the very first 2, and they're like, oh really? I'm like, and like you were a purple belt back then. Yep. And they were everyone else there was a black belt, right?
Mainly, mainly.
So that was quite the platform to be on.
Yeah. I'm always upset when I look back at the first EBI because I fought Alberto in the first round and I won the first round. And my goal when I went there was to win my first match. Mm-hmm. That was my whole goal, was win your first match and whatever. So if you watch my demeanor in the first match and you watch my demeanor in the second match, it completely changed. And I think one of the things was that my second opponent was Boogeyman, Richie Martinez. Yeah. And I love Richie Martinez. I think he's really cool. Him and I had trained before that together. So we were kind of friends. We were even talking beforehand. We were like, oh, you know, it's kind of bittersweet because I hope we get to face each other, which means we both did well our first rounds. But then it's, you know, we're going to have to face each other. So if you watch, like, it's all joking and whatever. And I, you know, I love Boogie. I still love Boogie, but I wish I would have taken it a little more seriously. You know, and then EBI too. I got caught in my first match really quickly against a really skilled opponent in Russ Mira, and yeah, but no regrets. I loved doing the tournaments. I was very proud as a Canadian. I was the only Canadian to compete in the first.
Has there been another Canadian?
I don't know. Maybe. But yeah, it was awesome to do that, and it was really cool that Alberta was the first match. The Canadian versus the Mexican. I really like that. Yeah.
Would you go back again?
Oh, I would go back again for sure. But I think I don't really like. It's excelled to such a huge level now
huge.
That, you know, they're killers. They're the biggest of the biggest, and I've accumulated. I've been competing now for 8 years. 9 years in jiu-jitsu, and my body is just riddled with injuries. So it's like, I'm really trying to do other things, you know. I mean, it would be great to win an EBI. I believe I could do it, but it would take a lot, and you know, to risk. It's a very high injury tournament, the EBI. You have a lot of money on the line.
Oh yeah, because it accumulates by submission, right?
That's right. If you don't submit your opponent and you beat them, you don't get that money. So my ankle to them is worth,
10
you know,
grand or something like that?
10 grand or something like that. So it's
no offense, but I go after it.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, you know, you put money on the line, people go crazy. Yeah, for sure.
So another title you have is the first World Combat Wrestling lightweight champ, right?
That's right.
And so that was last year?
Yes.
And you won the nationals, and you're going back to defend your title this year?
That's right. I'm going to Hungary.
And last year was
Bulgaria. Yeah, Bulgaria. Yeah.
So how was that? Like that was
also really cool. So yeah, where to start with that? So for anybody who doesn't know, combat wrestling is the Japanese style of Brazilian jiu-jitsu that was kind of predominant over there. There was a lot of really good guys, Takanori Gomi, Rumino Sato, who really excelled at this rule set. And basically the only thing that separates it from jiu-jitsu is the points favor the wrestling, right? Okay. You can get 4 points for a takedown, and in mount, if you get mount, it's 1 point. If you get back mount, it's 1 point. So it's very heavily favored on the wrestling. There's pins involved as well, which you can get up to 4 points. But the whole thing's designed so that it's their version of the most realistic form of grappling combat you can accomplish, right?
Yeah.
Because, you know, they kind of looked and saw the butt scooting and things like that. That wasn't even that prevalent back then, but they were just sort of like, well, the wrestling needs to take more of a focus. Because if you can't get the fight to the ground, what's the point?
Yeah, is it up to 4 points for a takedown?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's very close to Nogi Sambo, if you're familiar with Nogi Sambo.
I am not. I have a feeling that during my travels I will become a bit more versed in that.
Yes. Yes.
I'll probably have a few more injuries too.
There you go.
So.
Got to catch them all.
So yeah, how did you prepare for like that kind of such a different rule set? And that was the first time too. Mm-hmm. Like, so you didn't really have anything to like go back on for like resources. Yeah.
Well, they were doing combat wrestling out of Japan for a long time.
Okay.
So I watched a lot of combat wrestling videos from Japan just to see kind of the strategic elements of what they were doing. Because there's interesting strategies that you can do, that you can't in jiu-jitsu effectively. So just trying to watch those strategies, see how I could take it to my advantage, see how I could use strategies that might not be good against me to their disadvantage. Yeah, so it was basically just, okay, let's read these rules, let's figure them out, and then just go for it, right? But the interesting thing is, like, you couldn't just show up to Bulgaria to compete. You had to win your national trials, right? So every person that I competed against and every person that competed that day had to win a national tournament. So the level of skill was very high, and people were familiar enough with the rules because they'd already done the national trials, right? Yeah.
So this year now, you competed at the nationals. Did you see, like in Canada, was it more, like a bit bigger, more people there?
Canada's got a little ways to go. Like, I think Canada needs to beef up what it's doing in combat wrestling. But everywhere else in the world, it's you know, like if you go, obviously in Japan it's huge. Japan had the national trials, they had the Asian championships, and now they're sending a huge team over to Hungary as well. Right? In Canada, we just don't have it here yet, right?
Yeah, you were the only Canadian to go last year, right?
Yeah, but that was...
Just because of financial, or...?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I prefer not to comment, okay. But yes, people did not end up in Bulgaria.
But this year, during like the Canadian Nationals, were there more people out, at least? Like...
It was about the same turnout, I would say. Yeah, which wasn't crazy big at the first one, but yeah, no, there's definitely going to be a big showing at the World Tournament. That being said, the guys I had to compete against at the national tournament this year were very strong competitors, very worthy. Yeah.
So both those titles, they're no-gi. Or so you compete. You're more in the no-gi brackets, right? You don't really do a lot of traditional, like the gi.
I do compete in the gi. The problem I have is that I'm not very athletic. I've never been very athletic, which sounds funny because I think mostly people associate no-gi with more athleticism than gi.
Yeah.
But the problem I have is when some guy shows up to win a match and I'm showing up to submit somebody.
Yeah.
And then there's just the grab, the clinch, and me trying to get out.
Okay. And
I can't put my thumb in his eye. I can't do any of the tricks that would make somebody loosen up. You know, there's no striking, there's no anything. And it's, to me, like, obviously, you know, there's some technical things on my end I need to work on, so that shouldn't happen, right? But I think as well, some of the rules in the gi, you know, I'm getting old and curmudgeon-y in my views of sport grappling, and just say, oh, it should be this way and this way. I've got my own ideas about how I would run tournaments in terms of scoring and in terms of how matches should flow, but...
Well, it seems, you know, a lot of people have different opinions nowadays. The EBI format seems to be pretty popular. Shale Sonnen put up a tournament with the same rules.
Same rules, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with EBI at all. That's definitely an exciting style to watch, where you just let people loose. There's no points, so people aren't worried about it. Yeah, for sure. I think there's some interesting things that come up with that. Like, is it the most realistic form of combat if people are just going kamikaze for submissions and leaving themselves open to this and that? You know, I don't really enjoy... You know, you have to make a sport out of it. That's the problem with jiu-jitsu. You have to make a sport out of it that a lot of people can compete in, so that it's exciting for everybody, right?
Without, you know, hurting each other.
Without hurting each other, right? But, you know, and try and make a sport that's entertaining to watch at the same time. That's also true to what jiu-jitsu is, because jiu-jitsu is this whole thing about, I forget who said it, but somebody said they overheard somebody say, this is a black belt, it just broke his heart. Somebody overheard somebody say that, they said, oh, should I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for self-defense? And then they said, no, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is not good for self-defense. Do Krav Maga or whatever. Yeah. And like, it's just gotten out of control about how, I think you can't be a black belt if you don't know how to defend yourself from a one-hand choke against a wall, or you don't know how to do a basic weapons defense, or you don't know, like, this is just stuff that's part and parcel of jiu-jitsu. You have to know this stuff. And like, to try and include all of that in a sport's going to be difficult. It's a lot easier to sit back, and just say, oh, this is how they should do it, without creating my own league or anything like that. But
I did hear that there is another, Hickson came out with the rule set that was very similar to what I was hearing about Japan does, where it's more based on submission attempts than position. So if I get mount, I might get 1 or 2 points, but if I'm attacking for a submission, it's a point no matter what, kind of thing. So I can keep attacking for chokes over and over again. Yeah. And because I'm driving to actually try and finish the match.
Yeah. Well, I competed in no-gi worlds, and that was my big gripe, was that the guy took me down, and as he was taking me down, I put him into a guillotine. And he went purple, and he sputtered, and to his credit, he got out. Yeah. And once he got out, I put him into an ankle lock. And once he got out of the ankle lock, I went for a knee bar, but then I realized it wasn't legal at purple belt, so I let go. I got him in an arm bar, and then I got him in another guillotine. All extended, all super close, hover taps and everything like that. But at the end of the match, he won because I never got position, right? But I had these deep sub attempts, and even the bait, the takedown was a bait into the guillotine. Yeah. But I still lost the match, and I don't think that's right at all. But again, how do you create this black and white document that can define what the essence of jiu-jitsu is, without making it impossible to ref or impossible to judge, right? Yeah. I truly think jiu-jitsu in its purest form is closer to MMA than to anything in sport grappling right now.
I mean, because of strikes, right? Yeah.
Because of strikes, because of everything. The only way you can test your jiu-jitsu, like if I can do a sweet X guard, let's say it takes me 20 seconds every time I get you an X guard to sweep you, but every single time I can sweep you, and some guy can just start walloping me in the face, do I have effective jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, if you can't, defend yourself from a strike, right? Then what are you doing down there?
Yeah. Like, and I've heard guys, like some guys, I know one guy has very, very strong leg locks, and he was in a fight, and he got knocked out in the leg lock position. So he had the guy all locked up for a leg, and because he was so used to sport grappling, Buddy just knocked him right out. Ref didn't notice, Buddy didn't notice, Buddy came back too and finished the heel hook. But still, life lesson of, this is stuff you have to worry about. Places where you think you're safest in the gym, as soon as somebody's allowed to strike you, you might not be safe. And if all your jiu-jitsu goes to the wayside when when somebody's allowed to punch you, do you have effective jiu-jitsu? And that's kind of the model of how I've switched my own jiu-jitsu now, is everything I do is trying to account for those things. I don't think that if you take your gi off, your jiu-jitsu should be null and void. I don't think because you're in an MMA match, your jiu-jitsu should be null and void. Your jiu-jitsu should stand up to any test. And that's what I've tried to do for myself and for my own, because I know I'm going to be a coach, because I'm an instructor, I have to test my jiu-jitsu out in as many different avenues as I can. Combat wrestling, EBI, IBJJF, MMA. I've tried to do it all so that I can say, okay, this is what worked, this is what didn't work. In this rule set, this is what worked, this is what didn't work.
So then now the next thing is the fight league over in Europe, the 5-man.
Yes, yes. I'm going to get 4 of my bros. We're going to go over there. Yeah. I'm hoping they have taser, like it's like 5-man shock fight at that point.
Oh yeah, like that football game.
Yeah. That'd be good. That'd be really good.
So yeah, even though you compete mostly in no-gi, you still train in gi and no-gi.
Yes.
When you here at your club.
Yes.
So this club you've only had open just this year now, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and so in the short time you've been open, what are some interesting points of kind of come to light of now running a club, like for those out there that are new or looking to open their own club, like what are some things you didn't expect?
Some things I didn't expect, or secrets to how to run your own club. Yeah, I mean, timing is everything. Yeah. I didn't start my club with very good timing, but I think if you always try and, I was talking to another martial arts instructor, and he put it really well. I think a lot of people are focused on the jiu-jitsu, which is extremely important, right? But the more I talk to gym owners and the more I talk to people I respect in the community, they always say jiu-jitsu second, people first, right? Jiu-jitsu is a tool you use to help people, right? We take our jiu-jitsu very seriously here. I've competed at the highest levels. I've trained as hard as I possibly can with the right people, trying to get my technique to where it needs to be. I will never be a master of jiu-jitsu. I'll never be a master of jiu-jitsu. I will always be evolving to try and get to a level. And even when I think that level's here, there's an evolution that happens, and then the bar gets raised and whatever, right? But I'm trying to provide the highest quality of jiu-jitsu I can, but not at the cost of sacrificing my students' well-being or their personal lives, right? My goal is to help people achieve their goals. Some people come in here to use jiu-jitsu as a tool to lose weight. Some people use it as a tool to become, more social. So it's up to me to kind of see where jiu-jitsu fits into their plan and use jiu-jitsu to help them, right? In the meantime, they're going to learn a great skill, which is going to follow them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I've always been saying, I'm like, I'm kind of the poster kid for it. I'm like, you don't have to be fit and in shape to do jiu-jitsu, but if you do it enough, it will help. It will happen as it goes.
Oh yeah, actually, for sure. No, I'm the last person that would ever be in a gym, and now that I've been competing this year, I did my first deadlift. I'm very impressed with myself. This has been the new development. I've started strength and conditioning now, and it's made a huge difference in my game. Absolutely huge.
I was going to ask you about that actually, given that where we met before, it was strictly like a dojo. On where you are now, you're in with a strength and conditioning gym. Do you prefer this dynamic now, like with an actual weight training gym?
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's made a huge difference to me. When I got back from the Combat Wrestling Worlds, they approached me and said, hey, we would love to help you, because they saw that I was not an athlete. Like there was only upward momentum, and I'm still not an athlete. I've got a lot of things going on with me. I said I've accumulated a few injuries. I'm not going to talk about all those because I still plan on competing. But
maybe there's some guys over in Romania listening right now.
Some Romanian just with a sketch pad. But no, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, the strength and conditioning. So Lachlan Hodges is a trainer here who took me in, and I, in my own life, he's done wonders for me, like just confidence in my jiu-jitsu, confidence in instruction, just walking down the street and feeling healthy, like knowing that getting winded when you walk 10 blocks isn't a thing that has to happen. I was an asthmatic, I was puffing, my whole life I've been puffing 7 puffs a day, and
I still can't believe that's real because of the level that you compete at.
Let me tell you something, okay? So I've never competed at a point where I didn't need my puffer every single night in the middle of the night. So every single night since I can remember, I wake up in the middle of the night because I can't breathe, and I take a shot of an inhaler. I've only just got to a point where that doesn't happen. So when I say like I was a fat kid with asthma, I mean I still have asthma obviously, but I now have it controlled with my diet, with my exercise routine, and with some new medication. And this sounds really lame talking about asthma medication, but it's a big deal to me.
Oh,
but
it's a big issue.
Now that I have that under control, what I'm saying is that I've competed at the highest levels of jiu-jitsu and in the world, but you don't have to be a crazy athlete. But now that I've been doing it, man, does it help. It makes a huge difference, right? It makes
looking back at all these matches now.
It makes a huge difference, but it's not 100% necessary, right? Like I got that far without it, and now that I'm controlled and whatever, that's fantastic. I always joke that like once I go as far as I can now, I'm just going to jack up on steroids and see how far I can go. Because that's the other bad thing is that there's no steroid testing in what we're doing, right? No steroid testing. Yeah. So I've got this monkey that's ripping on my ankle. I have no recourse to say like he should be suspended or whatever, and nobody gets paid at the end of the day, which is kind of the frustrating part about jiu-jitsu, competitive jiu-jitsu. I do it to get better for my students though. That's why I do it.
Saying that now, there is an adage, is it an adage? Whatever, a saying that says, not every athlete can teach, not every teacher is an athlete. But you've been able, like, when I've been in your classes, you really have the gift of the gab. You're able to keep the classes, the students enticed in what you're doing, and you can compete on a pretty high level. So, what do you think that is? That how do you find that fine line between those two? Because there are people out there that are great athletes, but you watch some of their videos and it's they're pretty monotone and pretty vague on their.
Right. I think my passion is jiu-jitsu, and when I'm teaching on the mats, that comes out. And that might not be the case for everybody who's passionate about jiu-jitsu, but I think that's what helps me. The other thing I think that makes me a good teacher is that nothing ever came natural to me. Like nothing ever, like I'm an awkward, like if you watch me walk around the block or stand up from a chair, I'm very awkward, right? Like my body doesn't move like it should move. I'm like a newborn deer, but I'm almost 30 years old now, right? So I think one of the good things that makes me a good instructor is that I have failed so much that I can spot failure very quickly. I can say, no, I went wrong there too. This is what you do. And I think I'm happy to do that. It makes me excited because I can see these mistakes now that took me, 5 years to get over of getting my ankle torn off in a competition or getting my back thrown out from a improper sweeping mechanic or something. And now I can go, no, you don't have to go down that road. Let me save your MCL. Let me save your disc, right? And here's how you do it with no effort. Right, and that's a really cool feeling, and that's why I get so excited.
Yeah, like there's obviously passion is a big thing, and you'd hope that if someone's teaching, as an instructor, they'd be really passionate about it. But I mean, passion alone isn't make you a good teacher. So you would say it's more the looking for the mistakes or the helping, like.
I get joy from teaching, right? And I think every teacher should, and if they don't, they should get out, right? because you should enjoy what you do. You shouldn't go into somewhere where you're like, oh, I hate doing what I do. I know it really did change for me when I got my own club, because now, you know, I'm setting the tone for how things are being run in here. I'm getting to run them the way I like to run them. So I feel really good about that. I feel really strong. Like, I'm not competing with any other instructors about how this technique should be done or that technique should be done. It's just like, no, this is how it works, and whatever. And what I enjoy seeing is, out of the consistency of training, I enjoy seeing the results. I really, you know, love seeing that. And it makes me happy, and it comes out, right? You have to, yeah. I don't know how it is for anybody else, but that's kind of what makes my enthusiasm come out on the mat. And plus, I like to keep it lively. I think it's important. You know, you're in a gym. Whenever we do anything in here, we've got the loudspeaker going, pumping out good songs. Everybody's getting into it. You know, it doesn't have to be this lull and drawl. I think one of the biggest mistakes teachers have is over-teaching. You know, you say your piece, try and get all the information out as quick as possible. It's okay to let them go out, fail a bit, and then bring them back in, show them a few of the finer details. But I know instructors who will just sit there for 20 minutes and teach, and it's just, you know. So we try and keep the energy high.
And sometimes the smaller details, they overlook too. Yeah. I've found I've ran some instructors when traveling that I'm like, I know it's technique they're showing, but they're not talking about this one little small detail, and the new guy in class isn't getting it because, you know, he's like, oh no, yeah, I know. So what, are you supposed to do this kind of thing? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's been fun. I have one last question.
Yes. The dreaded last question.
Yes. Dreaded last question.
Yeah.
So, if you were in a wrestling tag team match against myself, and I'm going to go with Ric Flair as my partner.
Okay.
Who's going to be your partner?
My tag team partner?
Your tag team partner.
Holy moly. Against Flair.
Flair and me.
Flair and you. Well, I've trained with you for a while, so I'd probably take you, but who would I pick to take out Flair?
You think you can take me with Flair in my corner?
No, I would take you, and then my tag team partner would take Flair. Who would I choose to take out Flair? I'd probably go Lesnar. 100% Lesnar. Can you imagine? Flair would go to the top rope, and Lesnar would throw him like out of the ring on the other side. That's what I'm going with.
See, what I'm going with is that Flair is so dirty, and he'd have the ref so wrapped up that all your techniques wouldn't be shown. It's like you would have me a million submissions, and the refs wouldn't see it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Until they got a poke in the eye.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I'd have Lesnar in my corner and Mr. Fuji as my manager.
Oh.
There you go. Flair would get on the apron, Fuji would blow the mist, game over. Flair's out of the picture.
I'm pooched. All right. So I'm gonna need a new tag team partner. All right, it's been fun.
Yeah.
I'll have links up about there's I imagine there's links for the combat wrestling.
Oh yeah.
Out there?
Yeah.
All right, I'll have links up and for Forge as well. And till next time, I'll see you on the mats. Us.